Hello, thanks for joining us on your channel of choice at this time, Africa Independent Television Reality. Welcome to Focus Nigeria, your program that puts the searchlight on topical issues in the polity. My name is Benga. I'm really glad to be here this very wet and cold morning in the city of Abuja. The events of the past 2 weeks, no doubt, must have been giving the federal government a lot of worries. That one of its cardinal programs for which it had expected to make a huge mileage has been receiving a lot of knocks and huge setbacks. In the span of 1 week, the whole anti-corruption crusade of the government received big knocks that have left the anti-corruption war very hollow. In quick succession, 4 different courts last week gave decisions which no doubt represent a huge setback for the anti-corruption war. On April 3 this year, a federal high court judge sitting in Lagos, Justice Abdulaziz Anka, vacated an earlier order by the court on a bank account of popular lawyer Chief Mike Ozekome, senior advocate of Nigeria. The court had earlier frozen the account and gave to the FCC a temporary possession of a sum of 75 million naira paid into the account by Ekiti State Governor Ayo Fayose. While the legal practitioner said the money was part payment for legal fees on account of cases he was handling for the governor, the FCC, on the other hand, which got the ex parte court order, had told the court that the money was proceeds of crime, specifically part of the over 2 billion naira allegedly given to the Ekiti governor by the former National Security Advisor, retired Colonel Sambo Dasuki. But on April 3, Justice Anka, after listening to the arguments of both Ozekome and the FCC, noted that the lawyer could not be held liable for whatever sins the Ekiti State Governor might have committed, more so when the court order in favor of the FCC, which had frozen Ayo Fayose's account, had been lifted by another court sitting in Ado Ekiti. Just as the FCC was still considering this order, on Tuesday, that's the following day, April 4, an FCT High Court here in Abuja struck out a 6-count charge against former Minister of the Niger Delta, Elder Gosde Orubebe. The charge had been filed by the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC. The ICPC, in that case, had charged Orubebe to court on account of diverting a sum of 1.9 billion naira meant for payment as compensation to owners of properties affected by the construction of the East-West Road in Eket, Akwa Ibom State. But the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation, in that case, that was last week, had clarified that indeed the money was not missing but was in government coffers and not diverted as alleged by the ICPC. Now, just as the officials of the federal government were trying to recover from what was no doubt an embarrassing moment, 24 hours after, specifically on Wednesday, April 5, another court in the same FCT, presided over by Justice Jude Okeke, upheld the no-case submission made by a federal high court judge, Justice Adeniyi Ademola, his wife, Olabowale, and a senior advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Joe Aggie, and dismissed all the 18 counts of bribery, conspiracy, abuse of office, illegal possession of firearm, and all of that levied against the 3 defendants. Justice Ademola, you will recall, is one of the 7 judges sensationally arrested and detained in a dawn raid by the DSS last year. It was called a sting operation on account of corruption. Now, the shock of this development was still enduring when the following day, on Thursday, yet another federal high court, again this time in Lagos, unfreezed the account of former First Lady, Dame Patience Jonathan. The court had earlier frozen the account with a sum of $5.8 million, which the FCC described as proceeds of crime. But Justice Mojisola Olatoregun, in her ruling last Thursday on an application by the former First Lady, upheld the argument that the former First Lady was not joined as a party in the application by the EFCC leading to the freezing of the accounts. Now, no doubt, these 5 different rulings, coming within a span of 1 week, present a food for thought for observers of the anti-corruption war. Now, recall that before now, a federal high court sitting in Ekiti State, in Ado-Ekiti, Ekiti State, had similarly dealt a huge blow to the EFCC by lifting the EFCC restrictions on the accounts of former Ekiti State Governor Ayo Fayoshi, who the commission had accused of receiving billions of naira from the former NSA in what is now notoriously called the Dasuki Gate, you know, money for election and all of that. Now, at the moment, the FCC is in court against some judges and some senior lawyers, all on account of the anti-corruption war. Now we ask, is the anti-corruption war now on tenterhooks, or has the anti-corruption war run into an ambush, as some analysts are suggesting? Or, put differently, is corruption fighting back? Or are all these developments happening because, as they say, corruption is a monster, very powerful, and is fighting back on all fronts? Or are we just seeing the result of a war that is being fought without a clear-cut strategy on how to achieve victory? These are the issues we will be discussing today as we x-ray each of these developments that I have chronicled here, and we would like to see what has gone wrong here. Barrister Godwin Ogboji is an Abuja-based legal practitioner. He will be joining me along with Babatunde Oluajo, who is an anti-corruption crusader. Both will be joining me for today's discussions shortly.
They see chaos and conflicts. We see community action for good governance. They see poverty and want. We see perseverance and the will to go on. They see economic law. We see the ingenuity and creative spirit of our people. We are AIT News, fresh, authentic views of Africa. How would you rather see the world? AIT News, all sides, all the time.
All right, we're starting the discussions now, but my attention has just been called to what definitely is a slip of tongue. Did I just say former Ekiti State Governor Ayo Fayoshi? Oh, bloody me. I beg you. Who I be? Based on logistics, that was a slip of tongue, please. Ayo Fayoshi is governor of Ekiti State. Based on logistics. Let me welcome my guest this morning. Barrister Godwin Ogboji is joining us for these discussions. Good to see you.
Thank you so
In
much.
case I'm sued, please be ready to do some pro bono work.
You should understand based on logistics.
Okay, he's my brother, you will understand.
Very good.
Mr. Babatunde Oluajo is also joining us for the discussions as well. Today he is an anti-corruption advisor, integrity organization. Good to see you today.
Thank you very much.
All right, before we get to all of those cases that are chronicle, and then that will lead us to the meat of the issue, which is, are we fighting a war that has no strategy, both exit and operational strategy and all of that? But let's debate these developments. Not too long ago, the EFCC shocked Nigerians when it displayed a cash sum of 49 million naira cash, stacked in bags. According to the report that time, those bags had been abandoned at the Kaduna airport. Till today, there's no report as to who brought that money there and why did the person abandon the money. Just as that was ongoing, last Friday, there was another report, a sum of 448 million naira, again cash, was recovered from what was said to be a bureau de change shop on Victoria Island. Although latest reports on that is that where this money has an owner, the owner is on the run, is a politician. That's as far as the EFCC has come, and the whistle was blown on a bureau de change operator who had been contacted by the politician but was sidelined and the politician went for another person. Then just yesterday, another recovery in different places, all totally 250 million. Cash again, recovered.
We are watching.
Is the EFCC acting a film here, or this is as a result of an EFCC that has his hand on the, his leg on the throttle, and has his hands on the lever and is pressing hard, and so there is no more hiding place for all of these people who are collectively holding our money?
It's a two-way thing. If you notice, the 48 billion that was discovered,
14 million,
that was discovered in Kaduna Airport early last month or thereabouts. Yeah, that's one thing I want to go into. You realize the fact that there were allegations and speculations in town that because he was given a date, the chairman of EFCC, acting chairman of EFCC was given a date in to appear before the Senate for his confirmation. That was just a plot to get a stunt to make him look very active and relevant. Because if you look at the denominations in the money recovered in Kaduna, it's ridiculous. I cannot want to launder or want to fly with 48 million or 49 million. I use 15 naira denomination because you have 15 naira denomination, 20 naira denomination, 1 naira denomination that was allegedly reported. And as rightly pointed, means this cannot easily come. Go to any bank in Nigeria today, it will be very, very difficult. Unless there's somebody of high standard to get a mint, just one bundle. So coming into that, but as you rightly pointed out, I said it's two-way traffic also. The whistleblower regulation, because it's not yet an act, it's a policy trust of the government. It's a very wonderful thing. There's no way I want to keep money that I'll not use one or two hands. And if I don't treat them well, they might certainly squeal on me that we lead this to come to the fore. That is why we should now use this. So the possibility is there that monies are in the system. Getting money of 450 million from Bureau de Change is nothing spectacular to me. Go to Zone 4 here. You get far more than that because this is what people do by the day. Because there's no law regulating how much you can change. So that is on the ground. So that type of money can be recovered. Getting such monies also in stores, and a lot of persons keep their money because the 250 million you said that recovered was from the market, Balogun market. People keep monies around them. So now, just like Andrew Yakubu has, you found 9.30 million from him, is there any law on ground that prohibits keeping of such colossal amount of money? There's none.
What about the money
laundering act, as you say? It regulates what you keep, and the amount that they talk about is not is not including this amount of money. They are saying you should not keep, I think, about $10,000 beyond or thereabout at home. But some persons will give you their reasons. Because if you can justify the money you kept at home, I don't think the money laundering act
can you justify keeping 448 million naira cash at home.
Like the Bureau de Change operators, the operation is all day long.
The money didn't belong to the Bureau de Change operator yet.
But
he said a politician brought it
for changing.
To change to dollars.
Exactly. But now, is there any law that says you cannot keep that money and change? If you can justify the source of that money. The point is justification.
Ours must be the only country where such happens.
I agree. I concede. But that is where laws, stringent law. Because what I
spent some years back. I spent a whole month in Uganda. When we wanted, those of us who were Nigerians on that trip, it was a human rights camp then. I think way back 1999 or 2000. Those of us Nigerians that were tagged as people from very rich countries, when we wanted to change money, just $100. It took us about a week. They had to collect all of our passports. We were in Entebbe. They had to collect all of our passports and took it to Kampala, the state capital. Where their central bank is, because it was only in their central bank you could change dollars.
Go to just Ethiopia here. Any amount of money, even if it's $1, you must give account and you must document it.
And we even had to go to police station for them to.
All these things you are saying are backed by law. That is the country.
Yes. Why is our country different? If one person can just carry 448 million naira,
the laws you have now, that is, I am not in support of it, and that is what I've been saying. As you rightly pointed, when we go to the meat of your discussion, that's what we'll come into it. This is now where you do scientific fighting of laws. ill crime.
This
because
is where part of the strategy that the anti-corruption
because if you look at
war should have taken
no
on
matter
board.
what you think about Obasanjo,
Yeah.
immediately he came, knowing the nature of corruption in the country. What did he do? He first of all brought in ICPC. When he saw that there's a lot of lacunas and flaws in the law, he brought up EFCC. You must bring up laws, just as giving instance of Kampala now. If there are extant laws existing, enforceable, will all these things be happening? Even the bureau of change will not even collect it. Nobody even want to move along with such cars. So that is when we come to the discussion. We'll now talk about what do we do now. Since they are coming to the fore now, what do we now do to checkmate this thing, which is nothing but law?
Okay. Babatunde, what's your take on all of these recoveries or discoveries? Some are recoveries, some are discoveries. The $9.something million of gift that was discovered in one Lungu in Kaduna, where that one was said to be a gift. And then when you total all of these discoveries, because these are not recoveries really, they are discoveries, that's about 740-something million naira cash.
Well, I don't want to go into any conspiracy theory. But I think we have a duty because we need to watch the watchman. Like the money discovered in Kaduna, we need to start following up. We need to ask questions of the EFCC. Because I think one of the greatest challenges I think we have, we're a country of different, 1 week, one story, 1 week, one scandal. So by the time when that scandal comes up, you forgot what happened the other. So I think we need to systematically start to follow up. It is by following up we can find out if EFCC is trying to be smart or they are playing a game. But if you and I have not followed up, I will not go into any conspiracy theory. Then number two, beyond law, we know even if you have a law, and I
but
think.
Then, is it right for the FCC to just shock our sensibilities without even adequately giving us blow-by-blow information as they stumble on them?
But even if they refuse, we all have a duty as journalists, as citizens, as activists, as civil society organizations to follow up. There's a Freedom of Information Act. EFCC, what has happened to the money you got in Kaduna?
Yeah.
Who is the owner? What is the result of your investigation? Because I think this is how we can actually help the EFCC and anti-corruption agencies as a whole to become more diligent so that we stop suffering the type of embarrassment we just suffered in the past week. We can't afford it as a nation. We say we're fighting corruption and we'll be embarrassed every day simply because some people are not doing their job. If they're not doing their job, we know they may have challenges. But what are you doing about your challenges? We cannot afford it because it creates a sense of cynicism. People become cynical. People see it as just showmanship. You tell us you have seen this, so you display money, you go to court, you cannot sustain, you can't get conviction. People become cynical, and nothing kills a war against corruption than when the people are cynical, because you need the people. But when the people see you as just one alawada, nobody's going to take you serious. So EFCC should know that this is not a joke. Okay. This is not a joke. They cannot become court jesters. This is serious business. You are talking about things that affect the life of the people, and then you just do some showmanship on television and go to court. You cannot get any conviction. No, you can't continue. That's number two. Beyond, and I think the anti-money laundering law. Yeah. I'm not a lawyer, I'm a political scientist, but I simply think it makes provision for the maximum. Yeah. If you are below the change, so you have a quarrel with the bank. Yeah. If you get money, you cannot take it to the bank. You are supposed to keep it in your room. I think for me the greatest problem is not even the gap in the law. It's the culture of impunity that as a nation has become part and parcel of us. Yeah. Today, even if you dissolve passive gap, if you close it, because people are used to that culture of impunity, you discover that people continue to hide money in the house. And the reason simply is not far-fetched. If your money is from legitimate source and you can explain it, there's no reason why you should not go to the bank. And that is where this government too owes the duty. Because with the Process of Crime Act, bill rather, that was passed but that was not assented to, he said, give us another leeway. Even all these cases we lost, even if they cannot secure criminal conviction, they can secure
conviction.
Exactly. Because there are two ways we fight corruption. Two essence of the law to fight corruption. Is that I want to get conviction and forfeiture, or you want to just get non-conviction and forfeiture. Because the important thing is that you want to do justice society. You don't want to deny those who have corruptly enriched themselves. You want to deny them the benefits. That is the fundamental thing. Once you cannot deny them the enjoyment of the benefit of that process of crime, then you are doing great harm to society. because simply means they can be flaunting the process of corruption in our face. And
that corruption pays.
Exactly, it pays. That's what it means.
All right. Barrister Ogboji, I actually forgot. I thought that it was just the EFCC Act. I didn't know that this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 laws in one, in just one book. And I didn't know when I was buying it. I just saw the Money Laundering Act is part of it. The Money Laundering Act is part of this law. Let me quickly read section 1 of it. No person, that's part 1, prohibition of money laundering. No person or body corporate, shall, except in a transaction through a financial institution, make or accept cash payment of a sum exceeding 5 million naira or its equivalent in the case of an individual, or 10 million naira or its equivalent in the case of a body corporate.
Make, you not say keep.
Yes.
You don't understand making transactions. You know, I said not keep. Yes. You can keep. That's why I was telling you that yes, there is limit to what you can do. But did they say anything about keeping here? That's just what I'm trying to make us understand properly. But that is not the law. As I rightly pointed out now,
yes,
the fight must be systematic. The fight must be scientific, and the fight must be with the aim of deprive people of the benefit of corruption and show that it's fight. Because if at the end of the day I go to steal, and I might not go to jail, but might also not enjoy the process of that money that I've stolen or whatever I've taken, I can assure you that I will not waste time. Because even to go and steal, I must invest time and energy and resources to go and do what I'm supposed I did. So what we are saying now is that since we have a lot of lacuna, because by the day we are seeing people abusing the trust of the law. As I really say, the Proceeds of Crime Act, that I just don't know the reason why it was not.
I'm sure there will be so many things in this act.
There
must be provisions relating to what we are seeing here.
There are rooms for amendment. There are rooms. Well, if they are, the likes of Andrew Yakubu will not confidently tell you that they are gifts. I can. He's been represented by an SCN. That confidently come and tell you that this is my money, it was a gift. He won't tell you. That's why I'm saying take your time to peruse. You can call us back again to say they will not confidently come and tell, because by now you have to have flashed the provisions of the law to them. But the point is that we are not saying that they must know everything, but there's room. No law is static. No society is static. It's dynamic. It changes. As you sit down to do right thing, somebody is thinking somewhere who has to destroy what you are doing and then subvert it and then go ahead to do the evil thing. So that's where we must come with better laws to fight this. And as I rightly pointed out, we must not miss it. Impunity. And where does impunity come into be now? Is where you shield one or two other persons that are maybe in your party, your relative, your siblings, or your friends. If you do that, you might not have the moral right. That's why you see confidently the PDP chairman recently said, release all our members that are on that trial. Why would he say that? Because you are now seeing a lot of other persons that have been alleged to cut grass for 270 million, nothing is happening. Somebody have alleged to go to the hospital, the chief of staff, the president, no account is given, no shoddy explanation is given. Ministers are being responsible for crimes that white papers and other papers are being said about them. Nobody recently we heard about a head of Barrister dishing out $250,000 to each person to lobby one or two, and nothing is coming out of it. So why will PDP now have the effrontery? I use the word effrontery with sense of responsibility to come and tell the world that you should release her. Because the same thing is not happening. So when you see impunity, and the law might be there, but the law now applies to only one set of persons, while other persons are shielded. Now everybody in Nigeria is joining APC. Why is that so? Every sitting governor, past governor that are left is joining APC. Why is it so? And if you join the APC, no petition against you will be discussed. Nothing about you will be talked about again. So it's ridiculous and annoying. That is why we now have all this. So if you can come the fact of opinion, look at J.J. Comey, the FBI director. What did he say recently? He had the audacity, let me use that word with sense of responsibility again, to tell the President Trump to the face that your allegation that you were attacked was of no issue and of no moment. Can any government official fighting corruption tell the president if things are not right to his face? I said, I don't care the consequence. What did he say in this interview? I know there will be political repercussion. I know there will be, but we just don't care. And nobody's talking about it. So if we have this attitude of we don't care, well, let us do it as we are supposed to do it. One thing I find very annoying in Nigeria is you presenting focus does not mean it must be you and you alone. That's why you have the confidence to go and live from time to time. Other persons sit down and do well, better. Because you know that it is not you and you alone. But in Nigeria now, nobody that is in head of any parastatal or government agency fighting corruption want to leave. Why is not personal? So why won't you do your job and damn the consequences? So if we do that, I can assure you that this fight will go, and then impunity will be less in being a member of APC or being a president's sibling or any powerful man in government siblings or friends or associates will not spare you. And if you do that, I can assure you a lot of things will go right for us.
Okay. Any take on that issue? Because if we don't have any law in place or nothing in our existing laws to check this kind of a system where people can afford to carry this kind of cash around, that system can never be the same.
But I simply think, I mean,
like I said, I'm not so sure that this is what obtains in every crime.
Okay, but the point too is this: the police and the security agencies have a mandate to when they suspect crime, to prevent it. On the basis of carrying that amount of money, you can be asked, please, for you to be carrying this humongous amount of money, we suspect it must come from a criminal source. Can you come and explain to us how you got it? It's enough to hold money.
For the fact that this kind of cash can be in one person's hand, cash, not money, but cash, in the system itself is an inducement for corruption. That's what I'm saying.
Of course, we all know. I mean, look at from the Kaduna, this thing, I mean, expose. And let's be honest, this is not the first time that this amount, as far back as the Second Republic, there was a governor whose money was funded with him, and he said, you found government money in government house. You're asking me a question. So it's a culture. It's a culture that we have continued. You will be shocked the quantum of money that our politically exposed persons have stashed away in different places. Number one, because they know that money is illegitimate, it's not theirs. Number two, they know because it's not theirs and they don't even have confidence in the system they run, they may need emergency cash in case trouble starts. Number three, they may even need to escape and they will need something to run to escape with. So it's a culture. And to be honest with you, that's why I simply think the president owes a duty, especially coming on a mandate of anti-corruption, coming on the basis of the credibility and the people investing so much confidence in him, that is a man that will that will not take any rubbish. But so far we have been disappointed. Look at the first few months of the president coming in. You can see the way people were sitting up. You go to public agencies, nobody wants to misbehave because they think, the new sheriff is in town. But what has happened to our new sheriff in town? Our new sheriff has failed to deliver. And he has failed to deliver on the base, not because without his sincerity, but because his body language, his actions, and in his action does not support what we think he stands for. How can you have a secretary to the government and such an accusation is made and you leave him? The minimum we expect is that you first tell him to first step aside.
Exactly.
Because by so doing, you are going to inspire confidence in the people. You people will see what was the difference between Buhari, the Diagon regime, and Babangida. They started war against indiscipline. What mobilized Nigerian people was that they saw that they were living what they preached. After they were kicked out, Babangida came and even added C to the Y, war against indiscipline and corruption. But what happened? Settlement became a government culture. And despite adding C to that campaign, people saw that he was not living what he was preaching. And the country went to the gutters. And corruption became a state policy. That's the difference between, because the people don't listen to you as a leader. They are watching your actions and inactions, your body language.
But one major thing that I think is the problem is, you see, our laws, we don't have the inquisitorial system of government, criminal judicial practice we have, like you have in France, where you are
presumed guilty for.
Exactly.
And then you have to establish your innocence.
You know, now, when you talk about having money, I might as well keep quiet through, because the law constitution gives you the right to remain silent. I might as well keep quiet, and it's the onus is on you, the prosecutor,
to prove that I told the money.
As he pointed out earlier on, that it's for me to explain. I said, I can't explain. It's my money. So you are now hearing that it's gifts. People that were not in public office before who have millions of dollars, not naira. And how did you get it? You say it's your own. You can't explain. And it's toxic.
And you just left public office.
And even if you are not left public, okay, some of them are not. They didn't leave public office, hold any public office, but have access to public office that can be patronized from time to time. But that is not what I'm saying. That is where we now look at the fight to insist, not the fight against corruption, to insist on laws. Laws, particularly police of crime, that you have at least, there are exceptions to every rule, that when it comes to money is being found on you, you must give us explanation. You can't just come and say it's a gift. Who gave you the gift? And the person has the obligation to come and tell me, as he pointed out, if you gave me a gift and you cannot be bold enough to say you gave me a gift, then it's unfortunate I have to forfeit that amount of money. But if you don't and you keep it like that,
okay. Again, I cannot be certain as to whether that is not the presumption of the Money Laundering Act,
the point
which is what embodies EFCC to go to court whenever they find any suspicious money in anybody.
And have they sustained? Have they?
And the courts have of recent been reversing
because the laws are not, because it's not rhetoric. It's not what I presume. No, look, Okeke said something very funny. One of the most elderly judges we have.
Yeah, let's get to those
cases. Suspicion or a suspicion alone, no matter how grave,
no matter how strong,
cannot grant the conviction. It's elementary principle of law. So that is why the law must also now change. When it comes to issue of corruption, when it comes to issue of money, handling of money, it should change from the adversarial system of government to inquisitorial. If you are presumed guilty of crime, you can change that law. It is not on issue of corruption, not generally. Yeah. On that part, give us explanation. You cannot just keep money and tell us it's a gift. Gift from who? As it is today now, Andrew Yakubu does not have any responsibility to disclose. Sorry, it's in court. He's in court. So
is he in court? I thought he has withdrawn the case.
No, they are charging to court formally. Okay. So, but the point that he doesn't have any obligation to tell the world who gave him the gift.
Okay. Let's review some of those cases that I mentioned earlier. In a span of 1 week, 5 different rulings, all setbacks for the anti-corruption war. Let's start with the one that opened the week last week. The case of Chief Mike Ozekome. The major plank of the judge's position, that's Justice Anka, is that the source of the money itself had been, the encumbrance of the source of the money itself had been cleared, which then takes us back to the earlier ruling of the Federal High Court in Ado-Ekiti of freezing Ayo Fayoshe's account. Yeah. Now, isn't that judgment itself doesn't that paint a picture of corruption fighting back? If you have associates of the governor already being charged to court, already being prosecuted on account of that money, but probably what made the FCC not to also include the governor in the charge is because he enjoys immunity. But his associates, including those who have randomly mentioned him, are facing trial.
But are they being convicted?
Shouldn't that have given that court a kind of hesitation in saying we'll freeze the account?
No, I don't think so. You know why? Justice, if you expedite justice, you also create justice. What I say is that crime have no time bar. Prosecution of crime have no time bar at all. There are two things in crime fighting. One is to obtain conviction and to also seize the process of crime. If you feel strongly about Alpha's account, as you have unfreezed it, like in Tinubu's case versus Gani versus Tinubu, what did the court say? You can generate enough information for investigation and pass to the House of Assembly. Let's assume you have pocketed the House of Assembly. That is for impeachment.
Which House of Assembly?
I know, wait. I said that's why I didn't go for. I said let's assume you have pocketed the House of Assembly for impeachment purpose. But let us bring you the floor. We are discussing that this is one thing that you can conclusively investigate and point everything to the accused person and make him pay for it politically by impeachment. Or on the other hand, conclude your investigation and keep it. He's not going to enjoy immediately. The worst is only 4 years. The worst is 8 years. Where can now prosecute appropriately.
It's not 4 years.
No, I said I know. He came in for 4 years. 4 years. So that for 4 years time, so it's going to end there. So you have your investigation and conclude at that point in time, and then you can now monitor all these processes. Because if you rush it, that's where you fail. Now, which law has says if the man has said I am the owner of this money? He gave flimsy excuses. He gave excuses. Let me not use it qualifying. This is my legitimate earnings, and I was not a proper before I became governor. But you feel strongly he's the thief, or this money was the process of crime, and you are changing another person. What stopped you from keeping your investigation and dealing with him after the process, his tenure in office?
Well, because suppose the money have
good and fine. That is why
don't forget that a day after
I even heard
the court froze that account.
5 million. There's a limit.
That's what I'm telling you.
There is a limit.
I was going to ask what becomes of the process of crime. Suppose the process of crime are things that can fizzle out.
Exactly. Fizzle out. But there are two things: conviction and process. That's why in my introduction I said you can now obtain conviction and also have access. They can also confiscate after that. because there are things you can trace. That is why the good thing about money now. Why was it easy for EFCC now to trace Mike Ezekwesili's money? Because it was paid from that account. There are things you can dissipate this money on, and it could be traced and dealt with appropriately. Yes, I concede, but in every fight for crime, there must be sacrifice. Because if you look at just recovery of the process, you might miss the point. But if you look at the conviction that will serve as a deterrent and punish the offender, that was also very fundamental. Because these are things you can bring. Like recently, the issue of the Dixon Hassan of Lagos State that was appointed recently by the governor of Lagos State. What did he say when he went back to the US and said, I spent 17 years in Nigeria, 17 months in Nigerian prison? The judge will look at, because your attitude towards what is the process of crime can be another factor for the judge to make harsher punishments on you. So let us deal with that from that perspective. If you deal with that from that perspective, you take your time to painstakingly investigate, keep this evidence, and religiously prosecute at the end of the man's tenure, I think we will achieve the result. So for that, the judgment is not any cause. So
that judgment
is sound based on law. You might have your, let's not miss it, morals, suspicion, your analysis.
That judgment is sound based
on law,
on the existing law, or probably the loopholes that are in the law.
Whatever it is, but it's based on law. You cannot fault it.
That case doesn't justify the cries of those who are saying corruption is fighting back.
I don't think so. That is why we keep on saying when Buhari came on board, and from time to time when we have cause to discuss, I said fighting corruption is not by bare knuckle. Yeah. If you put in the laws appropriately, I can assure you, without even lifting too much of your voices, a lot of things will happen. But now we don't have the infrastructure, legal, law-wise, to fight this thing. Because every day we see them coming up with sophisticated machineries of how to deprive government of legitimate incomes and stealing from government coffers presently. But if you have laws that will deal with that, I can assure you will deal. Okay, where is the law that says a permanent secretary in parastatus or head of department will just take the whole salary of a department or parastatus and put it in the fixed office account, and nothing is being done about it? Where are the laws that will deal with this stuff? So if we have laws in place, corruption will also find it difficult to survive.
Today, what's your take on the first of such string of losses that's the Ozeko case?
Well, for me, the point is
75 million now.
It is clear that, I mean, in terms of investigation, in terms of the prosecution, as well as in terms of the law, there are critical gaps. We can't run away from that point. But I simply think the reason why those who came up with the idea of the non-conviction asset-based forfeiture was simply because, from their experience, from their jurisprudence, they have seen that those gaps can be taken advantage of by those who are corrupt, because they have the means to hire the best lawyers, the best brain. They can, in fact, they have what it takes to constitute, orders on the part of justice. But on the basis of a non-conviction-based asset forfeiture, which the process of crime bill was supposed to undo, you can say, first and foremost, want to even deny you access. Because by so denying them, you can even reduce the amount of resources they can deploy for their own defense.
Was the Federal High Court in Adrokiti right in unfreezing the account of Ayo Fayoso? Knowing full well that the EFCC, the only sure ground the EFCC has is probably to keep that money in that account, since you cannot proceed to prosecute on account of the immunity that the governor enjoys.
But the point too we must be very clear about is that morality differs, the law differs. On the basis of, if you ask me as a political scientist, as a social scientist, I would say, well, it is wrong because you are doing damage to society. But on the basis of the law, it's almost difficult to tell the judge to do that, because the point too is this. When we fight corruption too, we are equally aware of the fact that as activists, as social crusaders, tomorrow the tide may turn against us, and they want to use precedents that we thought was right simply because we need to fight corruption. They want to use it against. So that's why we are careful that to ensure that whatever is going to be done should be done within the ambit of the law. And to that extent, I want to say that there is very little the judge could have done. But with a non-conviction-based asset forfeiture regime, it is very easy. That money can be kept there indefinitely, even up to the time you need to use it to prosecute Fayose. And that was why the last regime, one of the greatest disservice they did to us as a nation was the refusal to to assent to that particular bill that was passed by the night, because that was a product of almost 16 years of work. That particular bill in various versions has been thrown out by earlier National Assembly. Yeah. But the last one, against all odds, against our expectation, they passed it only at the point of assent, for assent to be denied. And I simply think it's a major disservice because, as I said, in a country like ours, where there are gaps either in prosecution, investigation, or even in the law, we need to be able to show to society that if we fight corruption, we can at least, even if we cannot send people to jail, we can deny them the enjoyment of post. Because one of the things that brings, that funds the embers of this impunity is the fact that people can brazenly enjoy the process of corruption without any consequence. And anywhere that can happen, you are going to lose the people. People become cynical that you are doing nothing, that what you are just doing is just showmanship. We need to be able to show that we can at least deny them enjoyment of that proceed.
Okay, so Michael Zekome, I think that particular ruling was his, according to him, 7th victory against the FCC in a space of 1 year or so. All right, let's get to the second one. The second judgment last week actually is an embarrassing one for the government. That's the Orubebe case. How can an agency of government like the ICPC, with so much fanfare, drag a former minister to court and accuse him of diverting money meant to be paid as compensation for people that have been affected by a road construction, only for the office of the Attorney General to then write to the prosecutor that that is not true, this money is in government account, and that this money has not been diverted.
As I told you, people just want to please.
What that brings out in that first place is, first of all, overzealousness on the part of ICPC, lack of due diligence in terms of prosecution on behalf of whoever, investigation on behalf of those who investigated that case, and then overzealousness in rushing to court.
It is not over. It is witch hunting. Let's not say it as it is. Let's not blemish it any words.
That's a conspiracy theory.
That is it. That is. Let us say it as clear as it is. And that's why I gave you the instance of James Comey.
But is it not good that it's also a department of government?
But because it should have collapsed in court. There evidence is not. The money is not hidden. He has a very good senior advocate of Abuja.
But senior advocate of Nigeria. One thing that brings out again is that the agencies of government that are involved in, from arrest to investigation to prosecution, are not in sync. They are not working together.
They might be in sync. See, you have said it severally on your program and other platform on AIT. That is the razzmatazz of arrest and showcasing the person as a criminal. You don't. Most of them are not really, with due respect, are not really willing to sacrifice for Nigeria to get the end result. What they want is just smear you. I have been victim. Somebody will tell me, you think you're a barrister, I will embarrass you. I have no case against you, I'll dock you. And that is the truth. Because if you see me on television, this man that appears on here, so he's a thief. That you will not look at the end of my prosecution. That is just the aim of it. And that's why I say, let's not give it any other name apart from just bare witch hunting. If not, there's no way, as you rightly pointed out, ICPC has the resources. And it is not anything, it's not scientific, it's not rocket science to just verify whether these monies were spent or not spent.
So don't the office of the Attorney General give a go ahead to either the SCPC
they are 40.
Or the FCC before they can file
when the lack of order came up, they said they tried to muzzle EFCC and ICPC. Now they have the fiat to sue in the name of the Attorney General without necessarily getting his consent. That has been fought in court successfully. So that is where when he was pointing out that when you talk about the issue of he brought out a very good instance that today it might be right, tomorrow they might use against you. Now I know the same person saying the same thing now, but they fought it. I said Undercover was trying to muzzle them because he said everything should process through our office and we give you the consent before you go ahead. But they have fought it, and the Supreme Court have they can as well as because they're prosecution agency to do this in the name of the IG. But the point now have shown the fact that, as I earlier said, is this fight just against perceived enemies of government? Is this fight just against people that were the last administration? Is this fight against people that the government does not like? If it is not so, there's no way you can bring this issue up, that you can come up to the fore so embarrassingly that the money was still there. Why is it up to now that the chairman of ICPC have not resigned? This is a colossal failure that calls for resignation, because these have now put the government in a bad light. As I'm not missing one saying that it's witch hunting now. There's nobody that will believe that whatever you do subsequently is not because you are working at the back and head of somebody at the head of an affair, that maybe because the rule acted and
does this development also not shoot down the argument of those who describe the anti-corruption war as a witch hunt? If it's also the same Attorney General that has overall responsibility for the anti-corruption war, that also had that courage to say that we draw this case because these are the facts. Doesn't that shoot down the argument of those who say that is a wish hunt and all of that?
For me, it's neither here nor there. I would just want to say clearly this. First, that the ICPC, I expect a better job. And I simply think we should call it what it is. We should call it what it is. What we have seen is nothing but shoddy work. Shoddy investigation. Because if you have done your investigation, these facts were there. I mean, you would have unearthed the fact that the money was where it was supposed to be. And again, we must give kudos to the Attorney General for having the courage to come out and say, well, this must have been done, you did this in error. The money we have found is where, I mean, the money is still very much intact. But I simply think, as I said at the beginning, the anti-corruption agencies owe us as a people a duty. The war against corruption is not a jumble. It's not supposed to be a film. It's not supposed to be an Awada Kelly type of performance. It is because it's something we are talking about. Corruption is killing people on a daily basis in this country.
And here you are.
I lost a friend yesterday he has no reason to die. He has no reason. He died just yesterday, simply because basic things are not available in our hospital. Something as small as oxygen. In a hospital that is at the level of teaching hospital. So oxygen in this age and time. So they should know that it is not a joke. What we are doing is serious business. And the only way people can take you serious is if you are diligent about doing what you are supposed to do. For me, there's no point in taking 200 people to court and at the end of the day being embarrassed. It's better you take only 2 and get conviction, and then people will get confidence. You inspire confidence in people that, yes, we are going to support you because you know what you are doing. And I simply think Mr. President too needs to take a step backward. I've always said it. That he's a lone man. He's alone. Nobody around him believes in what he's doing. His kitchen cabinet does not believe. They believe they won't be found with using 250 million to go and cut grass, as they have been accused. You won't be found. Some of them have been accused, being paid money by multinationals just to kill investigation. You won't find his ministers doing what they are doing. He's a lone man, and I don't believe his agencies, including his anti-corruption agencies, are in sync with him. That's why he needs to take a step back and know that the only people he has is the Nigerian people who because of that credential, invested confidence in him and voted for him. He needs to take it back and say, okay, what do we need to do? And the best way to go is for him.
Now, this is dangerous. This is dangerous if a general goes to war and he cannot be 100% sure of the commitment of his field commanders to the battle plan and all of that. That is better that general doesn't go to war at all. The other third case, I don't want us to go into that. Reason being that there are developments over it. That's the Justice Ademola case. Okay. There are reports that whether there is an appeal, whether they are appeal or not. Okay, you
investigated and they say the up to now there's no notice of appeal filed anywhere and there's no case filed before the code of conduct.
Okay, so we should go to it.
I think I don't see any reason why
perhaps the reason why that one becomes important is that this was an arrest that raised so much issues, dramatized to the whole world, and all of us, some of us felt that, oh, what lawyers have been talking about in hushed tones before, that yes, judges, we know judges are corrupt, and all of that, have been victims, and all of that. All right, something is being done about it, and if you are able to clean the judiciary, you are sending a very powerful signal. But the very first case has ended in this kind of way.
But we, on your program, another program.
Again, what that brings out is lack of due diligence in terms of investigation.
Thank you so much. I have nothing more to say because you have said it all. You have just said it all because what we say, it is not a rush to parade these persons in the air. A crime have no time bar. The man might even be retired and you can still pursue him and get your conviction if you are sure of your facts. We all saw.
But a lot of people have also said this one is a clear case of corruption fighting back. It's a clear case of the judiciary trying to rally around to save one of his own.
But when you say that,
I'm sure you've had that argument.
I've had it. I've read it. But I read. I trend.
We've been told the legislature is supporting his own. Executive is supporting his own. And so the judiciary too
must save his own.
But at least, fortunately for us, people like you, even though you are not lawyers, read. And you read, not just read, you also dissect and analyze. And you see the facts. I have said it here on other of programs. You say sting operation. We know the definition of sting operation. That is not sting operation. You say this, you are doing this. Only you went without any collaborative evidence. And people came and said, this is not what it is as it is. Now, prove it now. You can't. Just a simple one. Let me give you an instance. The man had...
But the prosecutor had called 18 witnesses.
But all of them did... Okay, when they start linking, because as thank God you also...
Do you believe that in the no-case submission that the judge ought to have gone the way he went?
He should go, because
and all
now,
of that.
Now, he was charged with 18 count charges. Let's go into that.
Because in no-case submission is supposed to be just prima facie.
Who is not what they are telling you now? The lawyers told the accused person and said they have no case to answer. Will the man just close his eye? If the judge sits down and says this man has no case to answer, he must evaluate why the man has no case to answer. Know something very fundamental. They were charged with 18 count charges, and in criminal law they are distinct from each other. That is why in some cases you have some counts struck out and some counts being sustained against an individual. So you cannot lump them together. People keep on saying that you lump them together. They were charged with 18 count charges with distinct ingredients for each of the counts. The judge must link them and come to the fact that whether evidence given at that point establish a prima facie case again. As you rightly pointed out, it's supposed to establish a prima facie case. How will the judge come to the conclusion that it's a prima facie case established or not established if it does not go into what you have brought? Because evidence were laid, and that's what the prosecution defense witness lays on, that the evidence given in court have not related or linked this person to the accused you were charged with. So the time given, it's not just one count charge. Let us note it. People keep on saying 4 hours, 18 count charges, 18. That is the thing they do. Just the elementary one to show that the judge was right in what he was doing. 2 guns were found in his house. He brought out a license for one and said, my brother judge gave me the other gun. Till today, the prosecution witness, was any witness called from the other person that was alleged that was called and still serving as a judge to come and give evidence to say whether he gave the gun or did not give the gun? Was there something taken from him?
Let me stop you so that Tunde can have his quick comment before we call it a day. Unfortunately, we have not even started at all. Just review the case. We are yet to go into the anti-corruption strategy itself, and it's a whole book. This is the National Policy Initiative on Corruption, which the government came out with, which we have not even gone into at all. Your final comment on this? Is corruption fighting back? Is the judiciary trying to save his own? After all, the executive save his own, the legislature
save their own. No, but the point for me is that corruption, we always fight back. Anytime you fight corruption, that is a fact. But however, you may empower corruption to fight back, or you may strengthen the arm of corruption in fighting back if you are not diligent in your investigation and in your prosecution. So you need to be diligent, and you need to understand that it's not a child's play. It is something serious. It's something that borders on the
Former President Obasanjo made some suggestions at the weekend. 3 key suggestions. Number 1, the one that has kept me really with laughter every time. You must look for Ogbologbo.
What was the meaning of Ogbologbo? I had an argument with my friends.
You don't know the meaning of
They said it's
Ogbologbo.
experience. Because I said it's
experience doesn't capture you.
Exactly. Somebody was telling me that I'm not Yoruba, should not say that.
Ogbologbo, that's somebody who knows the ways of thieves.
Exactly.
Where he himself may be a thief or a practicing thief
or a retired one.
Thank you for vindicating me.
So I mean, but
experience doesn't capture you.
We need to get the anti-corruption agencies to realize that what the job they have been saddled with is something very serious.
We have to go. Unfortunately, we couldn't read any tweets today, and the tweets kept pouring in and all of that. Boyosa Chukwuka Gbenga, please, the president should go and take care of his head. He only appears in fake meetings. Okay, that has nothing to do with what we are talking about. Tiger KM says, imagine Justice Ademola case. He was tried in error. He was disgraced and arrested like a rat, yet he is innocent. What a country. And then Femi Faye says, does this man know that you can't withdraw more than 5 million naira at a go in the bank?
But we have said we keep. Withdraw. If I withdraw,
if you withdraw, who would keep it?
Who says
this man who has 448 million naira, will he spend it?
Who says if he's going to buy just sheep or that? You read it out now. Okay. Keep there.
I will read the law.
You read it and I'll follow you read the law too. It's not for me alone.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate your time. I've been joined in today's discussions by Mr. Godwin Ogboji. He's an Abuja-based legal practitioner. Somebody said yesterday that it's wrong to call lawyers barrister. So
that is something
okay. So Mr. Godwin Ogboji is an Abuja-based lawyer. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. And of course, Babatunde Oluajo is an anti-corruption advisor. He works with the Integrity Organization. Thank you so much. Appreciate your coming, finding time to hear. Thank you too for investing your time with us. Enjoy the rest of the day. Don't do what I would like you to do. Do stay out of trouble. I'll see you tomorrow, God willing.